He played over 1,100 games in the National Hockey League. In his second professional season, he was made captain of the Washington Capitals. He broke his ankle in 1986, missing the balance of the regular season, yet returned in the playoffs to anchor the Montreal Canadiens to their 23rd Stanley Cup. Ryan Walters' hockey resume is long and storied. He was drafted second overall in the 1978 NHL entry draft by Washington, played out the bulk of his career in Montreal, then retired in Vancouver. An all-star, man of the year, Players Association president, Walter also spent time playing and coaching with Hockey Canada. Today, he is a leadership development coach alongside with his wife, Jenny. Thank you for being here, Ryan. It's been a while.
Thanks, Debbie.
So, do you even remember what your first shift was like?
I don't know if I remember what my first shift was like, but I do remember the first game in Chicago. And my last shift, our coach Dan Belisle, the game was tied 2-2, and he actually put me out on the ice to take a face-off in our zone against Stan Mikita. So that's how old I am. And so I do remember that, Debbie.
And do you remember what you spent your first paycheck on?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I had back in the day, I was a high draft pick. We were supposed to get a lot of money, right? For our signing bonus that year, I received $25,000 and I bought a beautiful aluminum canoe. So, yes, I do.
That's awesome. And we do know that some make it, some don't. Why do you think you made it to the NHL?
Well, I heard Jimmy Pattison once say, the great business icon, that he told a friend of mine that, his success was all about his parents, is that his parents developed him. He actually stayed home until he was 25 years old, and his parents were, I believe, missionaries down on, East Hastings Street. And that's how he learned all of his stuff. I would give my mom and dad the credit too. I mean, they built a little self-image that, was not a cocky little self-image, I don't think, but it was much more about, confident. I mean, if that guy can play in the NHL, I can play in the NHL. And I just enjoyed the process. So I give them the credit.
And back then, it's a lot. The game is a lot different now. Back then, um, sometimes you came to camp to get into shape.
Yeah, true. It very much a different game. I mean, the athletes today are brilliant. I give them all the credit. They're amazing. They're stronger, faster, better than we were. I don't anybody that says, "Oh, the good old days." I mean, there's parts of the game that we loved as in the old days, but I think the game is amazing right now.
And when you broke your ankle in 1986 and missed that rest of that season, a lot of pressure on you to go back into the playoffs. And how did you have the confidence in your ankle to actually finish games?
Well, that was thanks for bringing that up. It was a fun story in my life. I mean, late in the season, I broke my ankle, so I'm thinking, the my team's gonna, have a chance at a Stanley Cup final, and I'm gonna miss my turn.
Hmm.
So the first, 10 or 15 days after breaking the ankle, I had a pretty good pity party, and I was upset, angry. And then something sort of snapped in me, and I said, "Okay, Ryan, get back to work." And my story that nobody knows, Debbie, is that, every game, every practice that my team played, actually every minute that they were on the ice, I worked out in the dressing room. So I had cast on my ankle, couldn't ride a bike. So I turned a bike upside down and I rode with my arms and stayed in shape that way, lifted a ton of weights, push-ups, sit-ups. So I was in great shape in May. Eric Lensner, the orthopedic surgeon for the team, said, "Ryan, I know it's not healed, but do you want to get an X-ray just to see?" And he looked at it, and there was a little line in it, not a bad line, but a little line. He said, "It's it's not quite ready." And I've got tears in my eyes because that's my chance to play is going down the drain here. And I don't know why Eric did it. He's a wonderful man. He said, "Ryan, do you want to try it? I mean, what's the worst? We're just going to injure it again. You got all summer to, to heal it." And he let me try. And the first couple practices weren't great, and then they got better. And a little bit of freezing, a little bit of tape. I mean, I had a chance to play in the Stanley Cup final, so I'm very thankful, not only for the opportunity, but I'm thankful for Eric Lensner, the doctor that gave me the opportunity.
And imagine a lot of adrenaline kind of kept your body going too, because I mean,
Yeah.
really.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're in a Stanley Cup final. It was the first of my career. And yeah, you don't think about pain. You think about, hoisting the cup.
And back then, the the journey to it, you didn't have, I don't think you had as many games to play, and certainly not as many playoff series to go through. Today, it's quite the marathon. It's like playing a whole new, different season to get to that final.
Yeah, we had a best of 5 in the first round, and then it was the same as today for the second, third, and fourth round, a best of 7. So a couple less games, but none of us liked that best of 5. You could lose in the first round really quick, and it seemed like we always beat Boston in the first round.
Yeah, rub it in.
Didn't mean to say that.
So, as you near the end of your career in hockey, did you even have a retirement plan as a player? I know a lot of players, they don't even want to think about retirement. They don't want to think about what they're going to do until that moment happens. What about yourself?
Yeah, I think that's true. I was well positioned. I took all the courses. I read all the books. None of us are ready to retire. I remember Pat Quinn in Vancouver. I'd only played 23 games that final year. So I was a healthy scratch a lot, but I was a veteran player trying to keep the team moving. And I remember saying to Pat, "So another season with the Canucks?" And he said, "Nope, not with this team." Right, and that pushes you into retirement. And I think that this is more than a career. This is a game that you've played all your lives. And I always say to people, at one point, everybody leaves hockey. So some, have a cardiac arrest at 80 and they stop playing. Most of us, some get out of the game at 15. Others, it was for me sort of in the mid 30s, and I didn't play a lot of hockey after that. I played some pickup for maybe charities, but I always felt that once that was done, that I'd played at the highest level, and that's done now.
That reminds me too, because you played for a couple of teams. What is that moment like when you are traded? I know some of the players today, they don't even find out from the team. They find out from either the media report or from their agent or anybody but the team. But when you were traded, what was that moment like? And you don't have much time to get to your location.
No, David Poyle called me in Washington. He was a new GM. He called me at 7 a.m. and said, "Good morning, Ryan. I've traded you." And that's it. And then away you go. So, yeah, it is a really Jenny and I were married in June, traded in September. And so that was a very difficult time for both of us just to process that. I felt bad for Jen because, she didn't, this is her first experience in the NHL. And obviously we went on to have great years, but not easy at the time.
Thank God you had her though, because
Oh, yeah.
she had to do all the cleanup and move the house and move all the belongings while you played.
Yeah, totally. And Jenny did a great job. And, And she tells a great story. She should be the one that gets the interview, about the wives in Montreal or in Washington saying, "Oh, you poor thing, you got traded. You have to go to those cold winters." And Deanne Pronovo, who is just a wonderful friend of ours, Deanne and Jean, and she said to Jenny, "No, no, no, no. You're going to have so much fun in Montreal. It's a great city, and your husband's going to have to buy you a fur coat." And she was fine.
That's hilarious. So, how was the transition when you became a coach? What kind of perspective did being a former player give you as a coach?
Yeah, very much gives you great perspective. I think the biggest advantage from a player to a coach is you pretty much understand the culture. You understand, the inside out, the inside of that dressing room, and then obviously, who's in, who's out. I mean, you understand the press, you understand the interview cycles, and all of that. So it's a big advantage. On the other side, coaching is not hard work. Coaching is long work. And a lot of players are not ready to put in that type of effort, because coaching is all about video right now. It's about getting your players on the same page. It's about making them better. And you do that through practice and games. Yeah, that's the normal way. But now there's this video component, and it's a powerful opportunity, but it takes a lot of time.
And imagine when you went into broadcasting, it's a different process altogether.
I was so fortunate to learn how to be a color man from Jim Robson, who was a great, amazing play-by-play radio and TV guy in Vancouver. So he really helped me, get into the business. And then Jim Houston, I did lots of work with Jim, and he's just retired. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed broadcasting, Debbie. But the one thing that I missed is there's no compete. As a broadcaster, there was no win, there was no loss. It was just I did the job and I highlighted the important parts of the game. And so I really enjoyed getting back into business and back into hockey, where in the job we do now, where there's much more of a on the every day you're on the line, every day you're on the ice, every day there's a chance to compete.
That's a great perspective. I never thought of it that way. Um, you were in 2 movies. What the heck was that like?
Well, the movie Miracle was really fun. And Disney called me, and Mike Johnson, my good friend, he was the one really that got me the job with Disney. They asked Mike, who's the hockey expert up in Vancouver, and so that was really fun. We helped put the hockey together. We're very proud of the hockey in that movie. And then the Gavin O'Connor, the young director, made me the the referee between the U.S. and the Soviet Union, and so that was a lot of fun. And yeah, it was a great experience.
And when did you decide to make leadership coaching your profession?
Wonderful, wonderful question. I don't know. Life is a lot about by accident on purpose. And so, I always got pushed up front as an assistant player, an assistant captain, or a captain, and I had to speak to people. So, speak to crowds, speak to whatever. So I got comfortable in front of people, and I think that was very helpful, because at the end of the day, you've got to. That's a good skill to learn. And then, of course, I got pushed into leadership, right? Like, so in my second season, I was named captain of the Capitals, and assistant captain in Montreal and in Vancouver. So I got pushed into that leadership position. And, I was really fortunate at mid 40s, to go back and do a master's degree in leadership business at Trinity Western University, which was a great school for me at the time. And the reason I mention that is I've been passionate about trying to understand, really 3 areas of our life. Number one is leadership. and that's the foundation of everything. And number two would be high performance. Why do some people perform at least at their highest level? Like, I'm not comparing Wayne Gretzky with Ryan Walter. I can never be Wayne, and he's not going to be me. But how do I be my best, and how is Wayne his best? And then the other area is team. And so that's, those three come together in what, sort of corporate America calls culture. So does the world of sport. So those two things brought together our current, we've been, Jenny and I built a little company. We've been doing, leadership development for 25 years now. I went into coaching a little bit, came out, did, leadership development. It's our company is called Heads Up Communication, and it's ryanwalter.com. But the reason I tell you that is that has been the consistent passion that we have had over the last 25 years.
And your experience with hockey, how did that help shape what you're doing now?
Well, it gives great metaphors, right? I'll give you an example. I've been thinking about Patrick Roy. So many hockey fans will know Patrick's name, and he was a great goalie with us in Colorado. Patrick did something that most people don't know unless you watched practice consistently. Patrick did two things that, from a leadership perspective and a performance perspective, that most people don't know, but they understand. And so here's what Patrick did. When he got on the ice, he was the only goalie I've ever met that went right in the net. Most goalies, for practice, they'll skate around, they'll warm up, they'll play with a puck, they'll have fun. Patty went, he knew his identity. He went right into the net. He was a goalie, and that's what he did. The other thing that Patrick did that nobody really is, talked about, I don't think, is most goalies in practice, pucks go in. They're not trying to save every puck. They're just trying to warm up. With Patrick, he would, if a puck went in past him, even in warm up, he'd turn around and get the puck out. And so what does that tell you about Patrick? He had a philosophy. And the philosophy was no pucks in the net. So, you wonder why some become the best of the best, or the best they can be. Patrick had an identity and a philosophy that allowed him to play at the highest level and then compete and win at the highest level. So I think what hockey allows me is, I always think, Debbie, that, if you think about professional sport and professional business, there's great connection in the principles of leadership. And so we get a chance to highlight it in sport and then live it in business.
And what surprised you the most about this gig?
Oh, this is a good gig. I think it's the people. Jennifer and I get a chance to meet incredible people. I have been in front of over 3,000 CEOs with our we have 10 new models that we've developed. So we actually build our own processes now. And many of those CEOs obviously have brought us into their companies to work with their sales teams or their leadership teams or their management. So we've really enjoyed that process. I think what we love best now is going long with companies. We've had relationships with companies like, Vetter Transport, which is in the Lower Mainland here for 7 or 8 years now. We've been on a retainer where, we work with their people and help out their companies. So we love that process. I think we love the people.
And I know it's different for everybody because you customize everything you do. But what do you see as people's biggest inhibitor to growth?
Oh, right away, what comes to mind, excuse me, is probably, the biggest inhibitor to a whole bunch of things. And that is self-image, right? We call it the inner game. Obviously that's a sports terminology, but I really believe that the inner game, are who we believe we are, our philosophy, our identity, our. I love to talk about belief system. What do we choose to believe? And then we've built a really fun model now, Debbie, around the six mindsets that really run our high performance or run, the different pieces of our life. So right away, I would probably lump those all together in what most people call self-image.
Absolutely. I think you're right on that. It's probably the biggest thing that stops people from moving forward, or they don't think they can do it.
Yeah. And I think most of us, when we think of self-image, we don't spend time going, okay, so what's holding me back, right? And we don't go
Mm.
inside. And I think that one of the things we've been doing a lot of executive coaching during COVID. And I think one of the things that I found as I've coached now, multiple executives is that coaching and coaches actually get a chance to probe a little bit into the self-image and into the belief system and the mindset of the executive or the manager or the high performer. And so sometimes it's good to have an external person help you go internal.
Absolutely. I echo that. I hired 2 coaches this year.
Nice, nice.
Um, so you motivate and coach others to be their best selves. Who motivates you?
Well, that's a great question. Jenny is certainly, my partner in this business, and will in April next year we'll be married 40 years, and she knows me really well. She knows when I'm off and when I'm on, and we enjoy the process. I think the other thing that I love is I love learning. So as you know, so I get a lot of mentoring through books and through different videos that I love to watch. I love pursuing areas of neuroscience, and so I think last year I read, I do Audible, but probably read about 40 books, and so that's a big chunk of information that's coming my way. I have a coach, and Bob Hancock's a wonderful coach, and we don't meet as often as I want to, just because of both of our schedules. But he's a brilliant guy. I think I lost one of my big mentors this summer. My dad passed, and he was a guy that I leaned on, and I still do. I mean, I miss him. I just miss the friendship and the fellowship that we had together. So I think there's the more the more we go in this field, the more we grow in this field. I think that's the beauty of the industry that we're in now, is that people pay me to grow. I would do it anyway, but I need to be on the cutting edge of leadership development. And so it's a beautiful industry because every day I'm in a growth mode.
That's pretty beautiful. And of course, I look at every person you meet teaches you something. I mean, you learn either a good lesson or what you don't want to be.
Agreed.
So, what projects do you have in the works that we can talk about and share?
Yeah, I've got some great projects. We're writing our next book, which will be our sixth book. Our last book is called Hungry. So how do you stay hungry? How do you keep people hungry? Um, and our next book will be called Breakout. And it's really about these six mindsets that I mentioned, how they affect our resilience, our performance. And we'll see it really play out. We're excited about it because we'll introduce the six mindsets. The first chapter is on awareness, so that we have to be personally aware before we can change. The second chapter will be on the six mindsets and how they affect who we are and what we do. The third chapter will talk about these six mindsets in the concept or the construct of language. So I'll call that performance language. What we say to ourselves and how we say it, right, reveals so much about high performance. The next chapter, the fourth chapter, will be on team energy. Fifth chapter on leadership focus, And the 6th chapter, we're going to pull it all together and we're going to call it game resilience. So all of the stuff that we do in those first 5 chapters really pulls together in, how resilient can we be in this next pandemic that's coming? Who knows when? In the next downturn in the economy, that's coming. We know that.
If this one ever ends. I'm
Yes,
in Alberta, remember?
I know. But the point is we always want to generate increased resilience because external circumstances are not going to stop coming our way.
That's fantastic. Can't wait to read it. I'm going to ask one last question. I didn't have it on my list, but because you've been interviewed a gazillion times over the years, is there one question you have not been asked that you wish somebody would have asked you?
Wow, that's a good question. It's one of those questions where I'd have to think about it just a little bit. I mean, over the years, people have asked great questions. I'll give you one that I hadn't been asked for a while, and so this is not a brand new one. But somebody once asked me recently, when you won that Stanley Cup and you lifted it on the ice in Calgary, was there a feeling that you've done it before?
Wow, that is a
And
good
I
question.
thought, boy, that's a great question. And the answer obviously is yes. I'm a kid from Burnaby, British Columbia, so we didn't have outdoor ice. We played ball hockey, right, in the rain. But you're playing ball hockey, you make a couple moves, you shoot it top corner, and your hands go up, and it's like it's a Stanley Cup winning goal, right? So yeah, I think that the principle there for me is that everything that we do externally, we do with our action, with our behavior, with our skill, has already been done internally. And that's the importance of being intentional. I think that's our key word with leadership today is so many people are reactional. They just react to life. And Viktor Frankl, is a great author, talks about the space, right? The space between stimulus and response. And that space is intentionality. And so when we're intentional with that inner game, right, we start to see it play out in the way that we treat life and we go after life. So I thought that was a great question, but I'll have to think about yours.
Well, that was a good answer. I like that. Ryan, thank you so much. It was wonderful to have you here.
Thanks so much. Great questions you have.
Oh, thank you.